everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm here to do my monthly wrap-up. As you know, I do what I read during the month, the books that I am hauling, and my favorites all in today's video. It's just easier for me to include everything like that end of the month type video instead of making like 3 separate videos. So let's go ahead and jump into the books that I read this month. The first book that I read this month is a poetry collection. It is Lavender by Christopher Poindexter. I ended up rating this 2 stars. I think it may have been just because of the symbolism. It's also a male author, and maybe I just didn't understand the symbolism that a male author used in this collection. I do have a full review of this on my channel if you are interested, but yeah, definitely not my favorite poetry collection. But I finally picked up Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is a collection of her short stories in the Lunar Chronicles world, and I'm so glad that I can say I finally read this. It was really helped to the audiobook, but definitely recommend this if you are a fan of the Lunar Chronicles, and if you're having a hard time getting into it, I suggest the audiobook. Even though the audiobook was a little difficult at times because some of the voices were the same, I still enjoyed the overall experience, and I rated this 3 stars. The next one that I read is another poem, and this is called The Type by Sarah Kay. I do not have a physical copy of it because I actually read this on one of my trips to Barnes & Noble. When I was looking for some new poetry to add to my collection, I saw this one by Sarah Kay, and I have another of hers on my shelf to read, but I was like, oh, I hadn't heard of this one, and it's just one poem and it's told very quickly, so I decided to read it right there in the store. I do probably want to go ahead and get my own copy because it was very moving, and I ended up rating it 4 stars. Next 2 books that I read were 1,000 Pieces of You and 10,000 Skies Above You, both by Claudia Gray. These are the first 2 books in the Firebird series, and I did do a review of these, but it's kind of like a time travel, parallel dimensions, contemporary, sci-fi, really good. I rated the first book 5 stars. It was a reread for me, and the second book I rated 4 stars, and I did talk about why I took off a star in my review, so definitely check out that. But loved both of these books, and so glad I went back and reread the first one. I did listen to these on audiobook, but I also read along with it. Next up, for my birthday, my friend Richard from Richard's Book Nook sent me Every Hearted Doorway by Shannon McGuire, and I loved this book. Everybody was reading it last year when it came out and was raving about it. It was like their favorite book of the year, and they were right. This book is so cool. It's so short, and you're like, wow. It's just, it's kind of like mysterious, but I guess the premise of it is that there's this school for wayward children that have gone off to a fantastical world, and now they're back from that world, and they kind of like don't know what to do with themselves. Everybody kind of thinks they're a little crazy, so they send them to this school, and I just loved it. But there's like a mystery element thrown in, and I really enjoyed it overall, and I can't wait until the new one. I think it comes out in June. I'm definitely going to be picking up that one, but I do plan to do a full review of this soon. And the last book that I read in April was A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray. This is the 3rd and final book in the Firebird series by Claudia Gray. Loved this one, loved the trilogy so much. I mean, some of my favorite characters are in this, like Theo and Paul. I just love them both so much. I really do have a soft spot in my heart for Theo. I rated this one 4.5 stars. I really thought it was an excellent conclusion. I thought the pacing was really well done. It was different than I was expecting, but it was really well done. I really enjoyed the epilogue and how the epilogue was handled. It gave you a little bit more after, you know, the last chapter, but it also covered, and this is what happens with this, and this is what happens with this, and this is, and I loved how that was done. I thought it was really, really well crafted. But the reason why I took off 1/2 star on this is because I think in this series, these are the only books that I've read by her, but I do have her new AI love story, sci-fi story, Defy the Stars, and I hope to read that soon. But this is the first time I've read, you know, like any of her works. And what I noticed in this series is that when she was writing like a tearjerker scene or like a sad scene, I was sad. I mean, I had to put this book down during certain points, or like after certain chapters. I just had to take a break because I was so emotionally invested in what was happening. But when something good happens, I should probably be a little bit more excited, like, yay, that happened, or yes, that, you know. And I just wasn't. Like, I was happy, but like I was really sad. Like, I was crying. And she couldn't bring me up as much as she could bring me down. So if she could write the happy scenes as good as she could write the sad scenes, it would have definitely been a 5 stars. But I felt a little bit emotionally invested, sad, and I couldn't get as happy about it. But overall, really good book, and I loved it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the book haul portion of this wrap up. The first book I received from my friend Richard at Richard's Book Nook, and that is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. All I know about this is there's a lady that goes in the deep English countryside, and you know, strange things start happening. It sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. It sounds like a good October read, so I may save it for then. Next 2 books I received in my Bookcase Club subscription box. I am a rep for them. Their subscription, you get 2 books. I believe it's always 1 hardcover and 1 softcover. They have several different genres you can choose from. It's $9.99 a month plus shipping, and if you use code SHORTCAKE15 at checkout, you will receive 15% off of your order. So the 2 books that I received from them this month is Zombie Chronicles. I actually received the first 3 novellas. It's like a bind up, and the cool part about this is it does have black and white illustrations throughout, and since it is the first 3 of the 6, it's a great way to jump into the series. Of course, it has to do with a zombie apocalypse, and it has major hard-hitting questions thrown in, like racism and abuse of power, etc. So it sounds like it will be a good one if you're into like zombie apocalypse stories, or like The Walking Dead or something like that. The next one that they sent me was Proxy, and this is written by Alex London, and I had never heard anything about this book, but it's a dystopian book where there is this mountain city that's kind of like this safe haven, and refugees try to make their way to the mountain city, and if they can make it there, they're granted a new identity, health care, basically like their freedom in a way. But there is a rich class, and then there are these refugees, and the rich class take in refugees, and then if anything that the rich class does, their refugee or proxy is the one that is punished for their sins. So if they do something bad, the proxy is punished, you know. And I just think it sounds like a very interesting type of world, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. In my uppercase box, I received Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. This is an AI romance story about Abel, whose programming is starting to evolve, and then there is a soldier, I believe, Nomi, and she's 17 years old, and she's sworn to protect her planet. These 2 unlikely characters end up working together through their journey through the stars, and I just think it's going to be really interesting. Next 3 books I purchased through Amazon. I got A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which is it's the first book in the trilogy, in the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's an adult fantasy novel about a world where there are different there's 4 different parallel worlds, but through London, and there's 4 different Londons. There's the white, gray, black, red London, and one of the guys, Kel, he can kind of travel through the different Londons and hand out correspondence to the royalty in each of the Londons, but he's also a smuggler, and I just know that there's a huge fandom for this, and when I read the first page, I was just really looking forward to it, so I really want to get to this soon. Next up, I got Under Rose-Tainted Skies. This is a mental illness focused novel. This is an Own Voices debut novel about anxiety, agoraphobia, OCD. It also has self-harm in it. It's about a girl who deals with the previously stated mental illnesses, but a boy moves in next door, and he's interested in the main character, and but the main character believes that the boy deserves someone normal. So I'm really interested in it. I've heard great things, especially from Emma Books' channel. So if you want to hear more of the thoughts about this book, definitely check out her channel. I also talked a lot about Sad Perfect by Stephanie Elliott, and as she's doing, I'm going to remove the dust jacket just in case that it's triggering. For her, that this book is written in second person, and it's a story of a teenage girl and the eating disorder that threatens to consume her. It does deal with a lesser written about disorder, which is ARFID, and it's avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. I hope I'm saying that acronym correctly, but I'm really excited to delve into like some deeper topics, and eating disorders are especially like something that I like to read about, so I can recommend them. So I'm really hoping that I love this one. See, from the Fiction Guild, If I'm Found by Terry Blackstock. I received the first book last year sometime. It's still over there on my shelf, so I haven't read it yet. So in this one, Casey discovers that her friend is injured and left for dead and tries to resuscitate him. However, he doesn't make it, and now Casey is on the run, and she's scared that since she's covered in his blood, she'll be blamed for his death if they track her down. Two more poetry collections. The first one is Chasers of the Light, Poems from the Typewriter series by Tyler Knott Gregson. This actually is on scrap pieces of paper, poems that he has written. There's some photography in here. It's kind of like a multimedia poetry book, which I really can appreciate. But yeah, he did this like in an antique store one day. The story's kind of on the back here. He was browsing an antique store and he stumbled upon a vintage Remington typewriter for sale. He used a page from a broken book he was buying. He typed a poem without thinking, without planning, and without the ability to revise anything, and he fell in love. So 3 years later, he's still doing it, and again, I'm just really excited to get to this. It looks like it will be a fast read. I also picked up The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace, 4-part poetry collection dealing with love, loss, grief, healing, empowerment, and inspiration. Sounds like something I will really enjoy. And the very last book that I received this month, I got in my Once Upon a Book Club book box subscription, and that is The Hidden Memory of Objects by Daniela Mages Amata. So this story is a YA mystery with historical ties to Abraham Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth, and it's basically about a girl, Megan, whose brother is dead, and they are ruling it a drug overdose, potentially a suicide, but Megan can't accept it, so she begins investigating what happened in the months leading up to his death. But she's a gifted collage artist with talent developed into seeing memories attached to her brother's belongings. So she's using touching and seeing the memories of her brother in the past to kind of piece together what happened. This video is my favorite, and it's probably my favorite part to share with you guys. I have some pretty different things to share with you this month, so just look down in the description box for any links as always. The first 3 things are songs, and I definitely recommend that you check the links down there. I put little YouTube links so you can go listen to the song. These are all older songs. They're just something that I've rediscovered, or I discovered for the first time that I had never heard of. So the first one is The One by the Chainsmokers. The Chainsmokers are pretty popular, but I really like this one song that they sing. This one. It's called The One. But I do have the YouTube link so you can listen to the full video, or the full, so you can listen to the full track. The second one is The Trellis by Nick Mulvey. I really, really like this. It's a really good springtime song. It's very like laid back and chill. And the third one is Brother Sparrow by Agnes Obel. Love this song so much, but I wish I could like insert clips of the actual tracks, but I couldn't find any that were like mixed by other artists, and so to avoid copyright, I'm just gonna have links down in the description box that you can click on and check out for yourself. The next thing that I'm going to mention is actually a recipe that I did make on my Snapchat early on in the month. Absolutely loved this recipe. I found it off of I forget the name of the website that I found it off of, but it is a recipe for Italian orzo spinach soup. So good, you guys. I'm going to insert my clip of the recipe, but so good, so delicious, just I ate it all. Attempt to make this Italian orzo spinach soup. I have my orzo, my onion, my vegetable broth, my spices, celery. So celery, garlic, carrots, baby spinach, olive oil. It calls for 6 cups of chicken or vegetable stock, and I got this vegetable broth, but it's only like 4 cups. So I'll probably just end up using water for the other 2 cups because I think it's going to be pretty flavorful with these ingredients. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil into a pan. Now you add in 1 small white onion, peeled and diced, and you cook this for about 4 minutes. You're supposed to mince up 3 cloves of garlic, but I had this on hand, so I used that, and a half a teaspoon is 1 clove of garlic. So I have that, and I'm going to add 1 cup of celery and 1 cup of carrots diced. So now that that's all in the pot, I'm going to stir this together and cook for an additional 3 minutes. Next, I'm going to add in my vegetable stock. Like I said, I only have 4 cups of this, so I'm doing the 4 cups plus if I think it needs. So I'm going to add in 2 cups of water just to supplement the vegetable stock. I'm adding in this can of Hunt's fire roasted diced tomatoes. I'm adding in 1.5 cups of orzo, half a teaspoon of thyme, a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary, and then you just stir it all together. So next up, you bring the soup to a simmer, stirring occasionally, reduce the heat, and cook it for 10 minutes until the pasta is ready. Now you can add in your 4 cups of spinach. You're going to cook this for about another 1 to 2 minutes until the spinach is like wilted and bright green. Then you just want to taste the soup and see if you need to add any salt and pepper. In my case, I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to add some pepper. I'm going to taste it again. And it's perfect. Garnish with some Parmesan cheese, and you can also add some crushed red pepper flakes if you like. Next up is a show on Netflix that I recently watched. I actually binged it this month. I think it took me like 2 nights, and that is 3%. So if you have a Netflix subscription, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's kind of like a dystopian world where everybody lives in the slums, but 3% of the population well, actually, like at a certain age, all the kids like go up to this one like building, and there's all these tests that they have to go through, and then the 3% that like graduate the program go off and live on like the island or whatever like that. I really hope that there's like a season 2, but if you haven't already watched it, I definitely recommend it. It's very like interesting. Also, I know everybody's talking about it, but yes, S-Town podcast. I really liked it. I really loved Serial. I've listened to all 3 seasons of that, or 2 seasons. Has it been 3 seasons or 2 seasons? I don't know. But I really love Serial, and I loved this guy's take on like how he did. I don't know. I just go check it out. S-Town podcast, link in the description. Okay, the last 2 things I will actually show you are these flip-flops that I got. I have them linked in the description box. They're just plain black, and I love them. They're so comfortable. The soles of them are actually like yoga mat material. I think they're actually called like the Yoga Love flip-flops. But I love that they have like a thin, you know, the thin band. So since I'm wearing these already, I've already got a tan line, but it's just like a little thin line, which I don't mind as much as like this big chunky line. But loving flip-flops. Wear them 24/7 in spring and summer. So these are my new ones. Love them. And they were only like $30, and they're like high quality, so love them. This next thing is the Formula 10.0.6. I'd never heard of it, but I went to Ulta for, I don't even remember particularly what I went there for, but I walked out with this, and this is just like a travel kit of a whole bunch of things. And I thought, great way to try out these products because they're all like little trial sizes. So inside the little kit, you get 4 things. You get the wipes, which are the Keep Me Clean Clarifying Facial Wipes. They smell like cucumber and witch hazel. I've used these only a couple of times because I don't usually use like makeup wipes or anything, or like face wipes. But they're really nice. I like the scent, and it can take off all of my makeup, even my eye makeup. Next up, they have a Best Face Forward Daily Foaming Cleanser, Passion Fruit and Green Tea. And you guys, this stuff is amazing. I'm probably, when I run out of my Milky Jelly Cleanser from Glossier, I'm probably going to get a full size of this, or just like change off between the two. I love this one. I think the Milky Jelly Cleanser takes off my eye makeup better. This one takes a little bit more, you know, elbow grease, but I just love the scent of this, and a little goes a long way. It has a really fresh scent, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really great. I love it. But you do definitely, like around your lashes and stuff, you do have to concentrate a little bit more. But that's just me being lazy, because the Milky Jelly Cleanser is just like a no-brainer. It also has a Pores Be Pure Skin Clarifying Mud Mask, Strawberry and Yarrow. And this mask is like, it's like a mud mask, but oh my gosh, it smells so good. I've used this twice. I'm a little wary because there was one time where I cleaned my face like really good, and then I used this right after. The first time that I used it, it was fine. Like, I used it, I could tell it was sucking that oil out of my face, and I loved it, and it was just a really pleasant, positive experience. The second time I used it, did the same thing, I thought, but I applied it, and I don't know if I had rubbed too hard or my face was a little raw, but I put this on and it was really tingling and like burning. So I took it all off, and I was like a little red. So I would maybe stay away from it from like sensitive skin, or if you just like kind of scrub your face a little hard or something. I'm gonna give it another go because I really like the scent and the formula. It's really smooth and kind of creamy and easy to apply. But yeah, I was a little worried about the tingling and the burning. The last little thing in the travel pouch is the So Totally Clean Deep Pore Cleanser. It's a salicylic acid acne treatment, and this, just like every other thing in the travel pack, smells so good. I don't know what scent this is though, but it smells really good, and it's kind of like a, it almost has like a baby oil kind of scent, but also like a little fruity. So I'm not really sure, but I just put this on a cotton ball because it kind of has like this kind of like head on it. So I just do it on a cotton ball or like one of those cotton pads, and like I do it all over my face, kind of like you would like witch hazel or something like that, but you can also concentrate it in certain areas if you need. I've only used this a couple times. This is going to last me a long time because, I mean, look at it. I've already used it a couple times. The pads I probably won't repurchase, not because they're not good, just because I don't use facial wipes. This I will not have to repurchase for a very long time. The mud mask, I'm going to give it a second go and see, because the first time was really successful. The second time was a little scary, but this face wash I would highly recommend. I just loved it. The scent, everything is really great. It's very foaming, but it's very like jelly, and it, you know, a little goes a long way. So I definitely like that. So that's all that came in this travel kit. That's all I have to share with you today of my favorites. Sorry if it wasn't exciting because I didn't have very many products to show you, but these, along with my flip-flops I really love. Definitely check out the songs, the podcast, the TV show on Netflix, and also check out that recipe and give it a try if you can. But that's all for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know your favorite part of April and what you're looking forward to next month, but I'll see you again in my next video, guys. Bye!